Hello friends, welcome back. Today we are going to learn one of the important concept of Linux. We are going to learn Linux security in detail. So the topics that we are going to cover, first of all, we will be working with file and directory permissions, how to view and modify. We are going to dig deep in the details of file and directory permissions, how to actually view and change these permissions. We will use chmod command and I will tell you how to do that. Um, these permissions are actually what actually decide who can view, edit, or delete files and directories. Next thing that we are going to learn is how to create and modify a user profile. We will also learn how to create a user profile and what changes happen and what kind of files are created when you create a new user. We will also learn about access control list. Once again, it's one of the important aspects of Linux security. We will cover that in detail too. After creating a user, we will also learn how to manage a user account and group management as well. Another important feature that we are going to cover in detail today. So, without wasting time, let's get started. Okay, before we get into the details of file and directory permissions, let's create a directory and a file within that directory, and we will do so using the root profile. So let me switch to the root profile now. My root password. Okay, so I'm in my root profile now. So where am I can check that using the print working directory command, pwd. I'm currently in the root folder, so let me switch to the desktop folder. How to do that? I will do that using the cd command, cd home kali and desktop. So where am I right now? I'm in my desktop. So let me create a directory here. First of all, let me clear the screen using the clear command. And I know how to create a directory. Create a directory using makedir command, mkdir. Testdir is the name of the directory. Okay, you can see that directory has been created. How to check the permissions for this directory? ls-ltr is the command that we're going to use. Okay, now you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 columns here. What do these columns mean? The first column shows us whether it is a file or a directory. Look at this column carefully. Here is the first character that starts with D. That means that this particular file is actually a directory. And if it starts with a hyphen, that means that it is a file. What about the remaining characters? The remaining character shows us the permissions for this particular file or directory. The first three one, you remember the UGO? The first one is for the user, the owner of this particular file. Since this is a root, so the owner of this file is root. So the root user will have read, write, and execute functions, execute permissions. The second three characters are for the group. If a user is created, whenever a user is created, a default group is created with that user with the same name. So if you create a user named Kali, a group called Kali will be created along with the user profile. Anyone in that group will get these permissions because these are group permissions. Read hyphen X. That means this user don't have any write access. This user only have read and execute access. Anyone we have who is added to that group. The third one, the remaining three are for other users. Anything apart from the owner or the users who are part of the owner group will get this access, which means the user will have only read and execute access, no write access. All right, let me create a file here. Let me enter to cd testdir and create a file. How to create a file? Using touch command. Okay, let me check the permissions of this file again. See, this one starts with a hyphen. That clearly shows that this is a file, not a directory. The first three characters shows the permissions for the owner of this file, which is root. So if a root profiles logs in, they will get these permissions: read, write, and no execute. This one for group. So anyone in this group, the root group, will get read access. By default, only root user will be added to the root group, and by default, any other profile, any other user will get the default access for that group. The third one is others. Any other user apart from the root user, the current root user who created this file, any other user, if they try to access this file by logging into the system, they will get read-only access. Now let me show you how. Let me switch to the user account. Okay, let me clear the screen. Let me go to my desktop. Okay, let me view that file what we have here. Let me and try to enter this profile. Now what kind of access does I have here? Now as a user, I only have read and execute function, so I should be able to access this directory. Okay, let me try and access that directory. Cd. Okay, I'm able to get in, but can I create a directory here? Let me try. I'm trying to write in this directory, dir2. Cannot create directory, permission denied. Why? Because I just have read and execute access. I don't have write access. We also created a file. Let's see if we are able to open that file. Let's see what happens if I try to open the file. We have the test file that we created using the root account. So as per the permissions, other users, so I am logged in as other user, I am logged in as Kali here, I should only have read access. Let me try to write something to it. Let me open this file using vim. Okay, now here it says that I only have read only access. So whatever I type here, it will not allow me to, it will allow me to enter, but I won't be able to save it. Now let me try to save it using colon, write, quit. Now, cannot open file for writing. I can't. Now, how to modify the permissions of a file? Now we can see that we are not able to access that file, but I really want to access that file. How to do that? Okay. Let me switch to my root account and I will modify the permissions. There are actually two methods to modify the permission. One is using the octal form, and other one is using symbolic form. So first we will learn about the symbolic form, and later on I will tell you about how to modify permissions of a file or a directory using octal form. Let me enter my root profile. Okay, so now I'm in root. Let me clear my screen. Let me go to my home directory, my desktop. What we have here, we have this particular directory here that we just created that allows only read access to other users. So I'm going to change this permission. I will leave other permission as it is, but I'm going to change the permissions for other users. How to do that? We will use chmod command here, and chmod command can only be used using root account. So if you are not a root user, you can still use the sudo command. You can still you can use the chmod command, but you will have to use sudo for it. I'm not a normal user. I'm logged in as a root, so I don't really need the sudo account here. Simply, I will use chmod. I will use other stands for O stands for other plus I will add right to it, and I will mention the directory name here. Now, if I wanted to change the permission of group, I would have mentioned here G. But right now, I just want to change the permissions for other users, and I will mention O here. U stands for the user, who's actually the owner of that particular file or directory. G stands for group. That means all the users who have access to that group will get those permissions. And O stands for other. In this case, we are using O because we want to change the permission for our Kali account. Let's see what happens when we enter. Okay, that means the command was executed successfully. Let's again check the permissions now once we have changed it. Now, as you can see, we have right here. That means this particular directory now have write access for other users as well. How to verify that? Let's switch to Kali account now. Okay, I will go to my home directory. Let me try to access this particular folder now. I can access that, but can I create a directory in this particular folder? Let me try that. Mkdir testdir2. The last time we tried, we were not able to. Let's hope we would be able to create the directory now. Yes, we are able to create the directory now. Now we can see here we have a test file as well as a test directory. Now, who is the owner for this test file? Root. Who is the owner for this test directory? It's Kali. However, we still do not have write access to this particular file. We get write access to the test.dir directory, and we created a directory, another directory, a subdirectory into that directory. But can we still can we still access this particular file? Let's try that. Let's again try this vim command we used last time. Again, it's a read-only one. We are able to create the directory into that directory, but we are still not able to access that file. Okay. Just for the sake of practice, let's change the permissions for that file as well. Let me exit this vim editor. Rather than switching profiles, let me open a new terminal here. Let me open a new window here. this window is for Kali, and I will open this new window for my root account. Let me zoom in. Hope you are able to see clearly. Somehow my control key is not working, so I'm manually zooming it. Okay, I'm switching to my root account here. Type in my root password. Okay, now go to that desktop. I will enter that which directory it was. Let me find out. It was test directory. Hope you are able to see my screen. Okay, I will enter that. Let me clear the screen. What we have here, I want to change the permission for this file so that Kali account, I can access this file through Kali account as well. How to do that? Just for the sake of practice, we will use chmod u, sorry, o for other, plus write access to the test file. Let's check the permissions again. Now you can see write access has been assigned to test file. So let me find out if I'm able to access the file now. Let me first check the permissions. You can see here now I have write permissions to this file. So once again, hello. As you can see, previously we had this read only text displayed here, but right now we are not getting any such thing. So let me try to write it and quit it. I'm sorry, I first have to enter the command mode, colon, write, quit, exclamation mark. Yes, I'm able to write it. How to find out if the text I had written was actually saved? I use the cat command. So now you know how to change the permissions of a file and a directory using the symbolic form. Now let's change permission using octal form. Before we do that, let's create a folder quickly. Okay, the folder has been created. Now let me enter that folder and create a file as well. Okay, let me clear that screen, go back to my desktop, and then see what we have the permissions here. For the new directory that we just created, we again do not have write permissions. So this time I'm going to change the permission using the octal form. How to do that? It's again very simple. Read write x, we will leave that same. Use 7 for that. I will tell you why I'm using 7 for that. Just bear with me. Okay, we will leave it as it is as 5. And again, for others, we will change it to 7. Let's see what happens. Okay, we should have write access now. Let me verify that. dir2. I'm sorry. Test dir2. As you can see, now we have write permissions for other users as well. How this happened? For that, you need to understand what is the octal form, how to use these numbers. Let me show that to you. So I'm assuming here that you already know how to convert decimal into binary and binary into decimal. It's okay if you don't know, because there are several calculators available on the internet that you can easily download and take help from them. Now, why I'm showing this window to you, what are these table and column mean? I'm going to show you how you can calculate those numbers, the numbers that are used to change the permission for the file. Let's say if the user have no read permissions. So in the read column, I'm going to enter 0. Again, no write permission, so I will again enter 0. For execute, again enter 0. Permissions for that user will look like this: dash dash dash. Total will be 000, and if you convert this binary into decimal, it will turn out to be 0. Proceed. Let's take another example. What if the user have no read permission or write permission but still have execute permission? Now it will look like this: 0 for read, 0 for write, and 1 for execute. The permission will look like this: read, blank for read, hyphen for write, and for execute it will look like X. And the total will be 001. Now if you convert this into binary, or into decimal, it will be 1. Another one. Let's say this time we have no read access and no execute access, only write access. So we will insert 0 for read, write 1, and execute 0. So our permission will look like this: hyphen, write, hyphen. Total will be 010. Now if you convert that into decimal, use your decimal calculator, and if you already know how to convert, you will find out it's equal to 2. Again, another one. Let's say this time the user don't have any read access but does have write and execute access. So 0 for read, 1 for write, and 1 for execute. Permission will look like this: W X. Again, total will be 011, and if you convert that into decimal, it will be 3. Again, let's say this time user only have read access. So 0 for write, 0 for execute, and the permission will look like this: read dash dash 100. And if you convert that into decimal, it will be 4. Again, let's say this time the user don't have any write permission, only read and execute permission. So I will write 0, 1 for read, and 1 for execute. It will look like this: R hyphen X 101. And if you convert that into decimal, it will be 5. Another one. Let's say this time we have a user who have read and write permission but no execute permission. So 1 for read, 1 for write, and 0 for execute. The permission will look like this: read write hyphen 110, and the decimal total will be 6. Another one, the last one. This time the user have read, write, and execute permission. The permission will look like this: 111. And if you convert that into decimal, it will turn out to be 7. So what was our permission? 757. That's what we used. So 7 stands for read write X for the user. User will get read write and execute function. 5 for the group. So the group will get what? Read and execute function. Read and execute function. But next, other, again 7. So the other will get read write X function. Now let's do some practice um, using the symbolic form. For that, let me quickly create a directory and we will practice the octal form of permission change. Let me create a new directory and I will name it as oct dir. Okay, as you can see, the directory has been created. So what is the default permission assigned to this directory? As you can see, the default permission assigned to this directory is this: read write X uh, for user, read and execute for group, and read and execute for others. Let me change that. But how to do that? We are going to use this chart that we just created. Let me change the directory permissions. We will use the same chmod. Now I want to keep the read write and execute permissions for users. So I will find out what we have for read write X. We have this one. So I will use 7. Now for for the group, I want to change that to only read. So what I'm gonna use just for read, we have this one just for read. So we are gonna use 4. Now for others, I want to add write. I want to change that to read, write, and execute. So what we have for read, write, and execute, we have 7. Great, 7. And then I will name the file which I just uh, created, that is octal. Let's see. Let's see if we achieved what we really wanted to do. I will try my ls-ltr command here. As you can see, I was successfully able to change the permissions for group, and I was also successfully able to change the permission for others. Now let's again change that. Now this time I want to add write permission to the group and remove the execute permissions for others. Let's see how to do that. Chmod. I will keep the permission as it is for user read write X. So read write X is 7. I will use 7. The second part, I want to change that. I want to update that to read write, just read write. Right now it just read, so I will change that to read write. So what do we have for read and write? We have 6. Okay, I will use 6. The last one, I want to remove the execute function here, the execute permission here. So what we have for read and write, we have 6 again. Okay, 6 OCT dir. So let's see if that worked. Yes, it did. We successfully changed the permissions. Previously, it was, as you can see here, we were able to remove the execute. Here we don't see execute for others. And also we were able to add write for group. As you can see, the right permissions were added for the group. So this is the simple way how you can change the permissions for all users, for group, as well as other users. We can do that simply using this octal form, and it's really quite easy. Hope you understood this concept of changing permissions both symbolically and in the octal form. This chart is definitely going to help you, but I have an easier way to do it. I just remember three. For read, write, and execute, we have seven. For read, just for read only, we have four. For write, we have two, and for execute, we have one. So it's simple. I mean, if a user want read, write, and execute, so for read, write, and execute, we will have 4 plus 2 and 1, 7. If the user just need 4, then it becomes 4. If the user just need to read and write, then you just need to remember 4 and 2, 6. Remember 4, 2, and 1, and it will make your life really very easy. So friends, this is the end of this video. In this video, we actually covered everything about file and directory permissions. We learned about the symbolic form of permission change and the octal form of permission change. We use chmod quite a lot. In the next video, which is the part 2 of Linux security, we are going to work on access control list. That is again an advanced security concept. We are going to create and modify user profile. We will learn about account management, user account management, and group management as well. So please stay tuned, and if you like my video, please press the like button and make sure that you subscribe it as well. It helps, huh? Thank you so much.